Tanmay. I work with Dakshin Foundation, which is a Bangalore-based organization that works in various coastal states all over India. And a large body of our work focuses on the sustainable development of coastal communities and the judicial use of natural resources. Towards this, we typically have long-term engagement in various field sites that we work in, where our focus is on building grassroots capacities, strengthening local ability for decision making, and so on. Inclusive fisheries inherently means that involvement of different stakeholder groups within the fisheries value chain is paramount for any enterprise or business or ecosystem to thrive and flourish. I don't want to focus too much on the nature of fisheries in India, because I think we have all spoken enough about it. I just want to highlight that India probably has one of the most diverse fishing systems globally, whether it is the communities that are involved in fishing, the species that we harvest, the techniques that we use, the gear, habitat, the knowledge about systems that is evolved, which means that fisheries is extremely heterogeneous. While it is heterogeneous, considering the vast length of our coastline and the availability of resources within our waters, we also know that fisheries development is vital to blue economy development. And for an entire system that is so reliant on the availability of natural resources, sustainable development of this entire value chain is super critical. We all know that the PMMSY promotes sustainable aquaculture. It envisions doubling fishers' income, strengthening infrastructure and value chain, supports aquaculture, mariculture, enterprise development, so on and so forth. And so do many other policies that exist within this framework, right? The PMMSY, the PMKSSY, Startup India, Kisan Credit System, Kisan Credit Card, and numerous other state and centrally sponsored schemes, as well as the national fisheries policies, the state regional fisheries policies, and so on. However, we keep hearing as organizations, and I think ma'am would also testify, as organizations working on ground with local communities and being here in this room, the thing we keep hearing is that fishery startups face limited adoption of innovative solutions at grassroots levels. Just heard in the previous talk, high sustainable standards are increasingly being rewarded in global markets. The more sustainably caught your product is, especially for wild caught species, the higher price that you get. So adhering to sustainability, which inherently involves inclusivity, is automatically getting higher premiums in global markets. I want to quickly segue into talking about the kind of work that Dakshin Foundation, the organization that I work with, does. Like I was saying, our goal is to work towards sustainable resource governance. And what this means is that over long term, we have healthy ecosystem and thriving communities. By thriving communities, I don't necessarily mean just fishing communities. It means basically everyone that is involved in the whole fisheries network, which includes us as well. Similarly, we want to do this through ethical, pragmatic, organic approaches that encourage intersectoral interventions and are also cognizant towards the ecological and environment needs of the system. Our work with and most of our work involves strengthening these partnerships at a community level, whether it is building relations, whether it's strengthening capacity at the grassroots. That is where the crux of our work comes in. And a lot of the interventions that we work towards are designed with inputs from the community. To give an example, we've been working with the Poland line tuna fisheries in Lakshadweep for the last 12 years. And one big thing that we realized came from the ground is that there is, well, this is might be a little outdated, but there is enough tuna, but we don't have the availability of bait that is required to catch that tuna. How can we track that better? And what we started doing with the communities is that we started a catch monitoring program where people themselves collected information on the amount of species that they were landing and the amount of bait that they were using. What this over time led to was people from different communities in the Lakshadweep came together under one roof and collectively decided that we need to reduce the use of mosquito nets and light fishing that was used to capture bait. Yeah, so it's things like this. This is of course not an enterprise related solution, but it's just basically something to show that engagement with communities can help in devising these solutions from the bottom up. Lastly, just wanting to give a quick example of some work that we have been doing in Park Bay, which I think someone presented yesterday also, which is to use fish waste to produce amino acids, which have a very high fertilizer value, and also produce chitin and chitosan from crab shells. We are trying to do this with local communities using low-tech, low-cost, frugal solutions, mostly involving women fishers. But the struggle happens at the next step, right? Where something like a blockchain technology would come really in handy. You know, where traceability is inherent to the system, which offers a tool for management. It also encourages monitoring sustainable use of resources. It also gives a premium value for sustainable products, as we discussed some time back. It also helps in sharing these benefits across the entire value chain, and in turn means the long-term sustainability of the enterprise. But what we see is that both these stories rarely come together. A lot of enterprises, a lot of startups are focused at the consumer end, and a lot of policies are focused at the production end. But a lot of fisheries is actually happening in between these two nodes, right? We know that almost twice the amount of people are involved in the fish value chain as compared to fishers. And strengthening that is really important. Inclusive policies will emerge only when people come together and are willing to slightly tweak their approach in order to meet each other's needs. I would like to leave by, sorry, did I miss? Yeah, and over a long term, inclusivity would mean flourishing businesses, it would mean thriving ecosystems, and it would mean communities that are happy, and enterprises that promote well-being of people, and that really is a very sustainable long-term model. And we do have examples of this, as we heard yesterday and today from agrarian systems. We have examples of better traceability, we have examples of minimum price, we have examples of farm to fork or farm to plate models, but none of these have yet translated to the fisheries space, which remains a big gap for any enterprise to develop. I'm leaving with this slide where I really want to stress that the provisions, you pick up any policy and the provisions for inclusivity exist. The PMMSOI is the primary example of it, where inclusivity is ingrained in the policy's framework, but it is not yet, but it still needs a lot of strengthening. And I think that once inclusivity is part of the process, and we have seen how inclusivity can lead to benefits across the whole supply chain, once this inclusivity is ingrained, adopting progressive policies is much more easier, right? Right now, we need to focus on strengthening what we have and then move towards more and more progressive policies. With that, I would like to end. I like to think that I'm within time, but also please reach out to us at Dakshin if there's any way in which we could leverage our ties with local communities. If there's any way we can facilitate this dialogue, we would be more than happy. Yeah, and thank you so much for this opportunity to talk.